to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
So, who's not playing Pokemon tonight?
I'm not. Kira's not.
I have nothing to do with that.
I am not.
Why don't you have anything to do with Pokemon life?
Because I haven't owned a Nintendo system in a very long time.
Do you have your old Game Boy Color?
I do. I actually have... You know, the last Pokemon experience I had was my sophomore year of college when I bought a copy of Pokemon Emerald and the battery died. Like, the internal battery died within 3 weeks because I got it used.
In the game or your...
In the cartridge, so, like, I didn't replace the battery with a watch battery, which I could have done, and I was just like, I haven't played Pokemon since.
Well, I'll tell you this, Sean. You're gonna have to keep that cough drop under your tongue when you're talking, because we can hear it.
Damn it!
We can hear it click every time.
Damn it!
It's
Really?
charming. Keep clicking. Just click away.
That was the
I
actual
hear that
goal
click.
of that little cold intro, folks.
Was to get Sean, because I could hear him when he was talking.
Expose all
Like,
us for the frauds that we are.
I mean, I have one in my mouth too, but I don't continue to move it around my mouth as I'm
Dude, I
talking.
can't help it. Whenever there's things in and around my mouth, I just can't stop playing with it.
Oh, there it is. There's the clip.
Now we're back to normal?
Now we're back.
Normal. We're back.
So, guys, thank you so much for listening to Trinity Force Podcast. It is the new year. This is first episode of This is first episode of 2017.
Number one. Nope, we started over. This is Trinity Force Podcast Season 2, Episode 1.
We are into season. If you're going by 100 episodes, we are well into season 4. If you're not doing that, I don't know.
Unless you count Season 0, because that's not a thing.
There wasn't
Season
a season.
5,
It was the alpha or beta.
The test run? The
Yeah.
test run of like 2 years?
Of 100
Took a long
episodes. So we have some League of Legends to talk about tonight. Before we get into that, I do want to talk quickly about Patreon, patreon.com/TForce Network. Run out there, support us. We'll be back next week with 2 episodes. You get 1 episode this week. If you don't want to support us or you just can't afford it or whatever it is, please go leave a review on iTunes, much like Hey212 did. And he wrote, just an overall great podcast. The whole crew has great chemistry and always has me laughing when they go off on a random tangent. Useful information on patches and gameplay. Looking forward to being a regular listener. So thanks you so
Hey,
much.
but again, this is just too nice. I mean,
I need some.
we're not that good.
In my life.
Come on, guys.
Adam has his favorite reviews that he goes back to just to keep himself amused.
In
really.
check?
Oh yes,
No,
his
not
bot
in
complex.
check.
I
It's
forgot.
It's definitely
Yeah,
in check.
of course.
They're all negative. The ones that he loves are the ones that just like shit on him, and
Yeah,
he's
but
like,
he's-
yeah, you're wrong. Bye.
He's amused.
He saves those. He saves all the hate reviews.
He's
Puts them in a
done it.
folder somewhere.
Tucks it under his bed.
He has a reason for goes to bed every night. Like, yes, this is my favorite
I
one.
just shake my head and go, oh, you guys are so wrong. And then I roll over and with a big smile on my face.
Got like a Jabba thing going on.
Yeah, just laugh. My wife is always like, what the fuck are you laughing about? I'm like, don't worry, honey. Everybody loves me.
Oh God!
It's frequently
Oh,
enough
man.
where it's a thing where you can actually bring that up. She's like, oh, bet he's doing that again. Back to the sitcom of Trinity Force Network off the air.
So tonight
No, she
on the...
gets it. She's on a show.
Yeah, she's on the Into the Iris show. So she can go
Choose
and bitch about me.
Iris.
What's that?
She needs to come back on that so she can answer some of my emails.
Why? Because they're not answering.
Because they're answering my emails, but she hasn't been on it in a while. So
Oh,
come on.
she has some
I want to hear.
reasons,
I want to
so-
hear.
Yeah, she'll be back. Tonight, we actually, really the primary discussion tonight will be on 80 carries and Marksman because Reddit has been in such an uproar and sync about it, and so have all the professionals or ex-professionals or people that you may trust or whatever it may be, and we want to discuss it. Now, I'm going to put a disclaimer on this before it starts, is that there are 5 of us on this show, And for the most part, we all are in agreement that Marksmen really aren't that terrible. However, we all have different reasons as to why we may think that. So, as a conglomerate,
What was that word?
Conglomerate. That's the word you're looking for, sir.
Conglomerate.
A conglomerate. I'm clombering all over you.
I kind of went.
I like that
blah,
we
blah.
clomerated before this episode and totally talked about why we think AD carries are in a bad place or not.
Collaborated.
You should have really correlated what you were trying to discuss here.
I'm gonna take a giant. I don't know. I got nothing.
You have nothing.
I'm not the
Giant
clone. I can't
conglomerate.
really pull it out.
I think we can all agree that Reddit has overblown this, and they seem to do this, if not every year. I know this has happened at
If
least
not
twice
every year.
before.
Multiple times a year.
I mean, it's definitely.
AD carriers always seem to be in a state of about to be kicked out of the meta entirely.
I don't
Like
get why
all
people
the
are so
mobility
upset.
creep, AD carriers are going to vanish forever because they're so bad right now, and then they don't vanish and they get pretty good again later. And
Did none of these players play during season 5? I mean, that's what I really keep going to. The stuff
think
that's
people
going
have
on
short
in the
memories.
game right now is basically the second half of season 5. Like that, this was the life that AD carries and supports were living.
Right.
yep, pretty much.
But
I can't complain too much because I too have a short memory. But I mean, come on, guys.
well, with all that said, I mean there are problems. Don't get me wrong. There are problems like just with win rates and ways we play and power spikes and whatever it may be. There are definitely problems, but it doesn't mean that it makes the characters unplayable. I think is the final point that I would ever make, is that at any point none of these characters are unplayable. So I'm not actually quite sure where to start with the entire conversation. No, Tristana's not unplayable.
How about
She's
the
actually in a pretty
champions?
good spot.
How about the champions that are considered, that would have been considered off meta like 2 months ago, being played out of the marksman role?
That's just,
Yeah, maybe that's where you start.
what? Because you just talk about Ziggs being played out of the marksman role.
Zyra,
I
courtesy
haven't.
of Cutie Pie, and
Oh, please get out of here! Just because he fucking did it, he'd just get away with anything because he plays so many fucking games. Like it's true.
Well, I mean, I think that's one way of looking at what the issues are, why people are going to different champions than normal. I think that's kind of a way to frame it, at least, and say, hey, what can these champions do instead? And
I understand the Ziggs. I do not know much about the Zyra, so somebody's got to inform me about that. But like, Ziggs' power is well known, in that he's a pretty strong laner, especially if you pair him with somebody else. All of a sudden, he becomes a very menacing poke laner, poke bully, and he can also just insta-kill towers at 25%, which is pretty insane. And that was insane when they introduced that. I'm surprised it's still around, honestly. Well, the Zyra, I haven't heard much about.
I mean, that change wasn't really. He wasn't meta for a long time after that change. Like that change went into effect, and we were like, "Damn, that's pretty ridiculous." And then he still wasn't played for a long time. And now that he's finally seeing played, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, they added that. That's different." That's kind of like when they. I think it's funny that they took away another important mid laner for a while, Azir's ability to use his Arise on turrets to deal damage, and then instead they gave it to Ziggs, except he just explodes them from 25% or higher.
I actually like that about Ziggs, partially because it lines up with Tristana's ability to take down turrets really quickly, and I think it'd be really, I don't know, a cool thematic thing if all or most of the Yordles had this weird tower destroying.
They just had it out for towers.
Yeah, like they just had like something in their kits that gave them a little extra oomph against towers for whatever reason.
Poppy can move them with her E and her ultimate.
Yeah, or Poppy's shield does quadruple damage against towers or shit like that. I don't know. You know, that's crazy. I'm not
just hates towers.
I'm not actually suggesting that, but I do think it'd be fun if more Yordles had shit like that. But I'm not, like, personally, I'm not actually that opposed to seeing like ranged AP champions sneak into the duo lane at all. It would kind of free up more room for interesting champs, like interesting AD champs to be played out of mid lane. Not necessarily conventional marksmen, but you know, how many times do you end up in a game where you have like AD top laner, AD assassin out of mid, and then you have your normal duo lane. So your jungle and your support have to try to be both tank and heavy magic dealers if you want to round your comp out. And if we see more, you know, mages being, or people being at least more willing to experiment with mages out of the carry role in bot lane. Like that really doesnn't bother me at all. And
I agree.
Orianna could work there. She her auto attack scales with ability power anyway. Cassiopeia is pretty spammy and like pretty or carries pretty hard the later the game goes. There are a few champs that I think could do it, and I don't know why we're not
I think
more open to it.
Riot might be more open to this as well because it's been a while now, but I mean since they introduced Mordekaiser, reworked Mordekaiser, and then later on Kindred, they've been experimenting with taking AD carries and putting them in other roles, and vice versa. They said they wanted to take traditional non-AD carry champions and put them in the bot lane and see what happens. So we're kind of getting more of this now. They didn't really have a direct hand in making this happen.
Well,
but
they did have a direct hand in making it happen, however.
Their goal was
in Ziggs and Zyra, I mean.
It
Mordekaiser was there like, hey, let's just throw this guy down here and see what happens.
Well, yeah, because they made that happen, right? That was the direct buff. But like the other ones, Riot is the reason that we heard. Okay, first I want to clarify that I bet the majority of us aren't actually seeing Ziggs and Tristan or Ziggs and Zyra and Azir.
I did see Ziggs Monday.
Yeah,
the time I saw it was when Adam did it.
Right, so it's not. I mean, you see it once. Right, and you're playing 10 to 20 games and you see it once. It's not as prevalent as people are trying to make it out to be, and it's not going to be because it's going to be really hard to shift the meta. But with that said, the change to lethality, the change to masteries, and the change to itemization for Marksman, specifically the assassin rework, itemization change, has seen the major flux in bottom lane when it comes to what AD carries are good right now, and because of that, people have to find ways to get around it. So this is like the perfect timing for people to try to figure out ways to shake up the game a bit. But a lot of it comes into that mid game, right? Like how easy is it to get tank stats at this point in time if you're just a solo laner, like a Poppy with tons of shields?
Easier than for an AD carry to get their items. Badger was talking about this earlier today. Was it like it's 4,000 gold cheaper for a tank to get the 6 items than an AD carry to finish their build, something like that?
Yeah. I mean,
and especially when you're in a solo lane, you've got an experience advantage on top of that. That explains why someone like Poppy is unkillable. Although Poppy might be an outlier, so I wouldn't extrapolate Poppy to all tanks. They've been buffing her tank stats for a while. She is definitely a problem.
You can't just cut down the AD itemization cost though, like just recklessly, because there's a lot more. In theory, there's a lot more kill opportunity in the bottom lane because you have 2 people down there. That's not to say skill and everything isn't involved, but there is more just like champion gold in bot lane, and suddenly like if people really get rolling and they get rolling quickly and everything, it doesn't. I mean the 80 items are going to come in so quickly that all of a sudden the 80 carries become unstoppable killing machines.
And they're supposed to have, if not the most, next to the most farm on the team anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, and AD carries are supposed to have a ton of gold.
Yeah, and they're supposed to have the longest curve, or they're supposed to take the longest time. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, but I mean, they're supposed to take the longest because they're supposed to be your late game insurance for dealing damage. They're supposed to deal damage consistently in late game without having to do like anything else except position once they're 6 item. Like they will deal more damage than anybody, and if they stay alive, you win. So they have to take that long. Otherwise, it'd be bonkers if they just like had the same amount of cost.
Otherwise, they run the game from start to finish.
Exactly, and that's why they're put down there anyways for easier gold and more security.
I think that's probably one of my. That's the only major problem I have with a lot of these people saying things about Marksman is that. Like, I'll see posts with, like, current state of Marksman, and the Marksman dies after getting gangbanged in a game. Or they position wrong, and they get pushed against the wall. The one that pops in my head is there was a Poppy who I think was reviving, and the Vayne got Bard ulted, and Poppy revived whatever. Poppy revived to push Vayne in the wall, but Vayne was standing between the wall and where Poppy would spawn, right? Like, just don't stand there. You have better positioning. And we're talking this is a challenger-style game. Like, a lot of these people, it's just... You just have to have phenomenal positioning, and that's what makes that really good. You don't have to do anything else but be in the right spot while everybody else has to use their abilities in a certain order.
Well, now, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Why haven't AD carries gone back to buying Sterix? Like, that was part of the solution last time they were getting murdered by everybody just diving on them, because Poppy and Maokai and all the tanks were the prominent top laners, so divers were out of the jungle. They were all buying Sterix, and people were complaining that Sterix was showing up in every single build, but it was letting AD carry players stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
I think
it doesn't address the mid-game power spike issue. That's kind of the other problem with AD carries, but it keeps you on the board that lets you get past that issue.
So my only issue with Sterix is that, like, while it does give you like some offensive power, it's not really great because AD carries already have low base AD, like, compared to like melee champions, because they have to. Like, you can't have them have stronger ADs, and I believe most of their abilities are based on like bonus AD. Like, a lot of abilities are based on bonus. You don't get anything towards your abilities from Sterix then. Like, it's really not that much. You get the tankiness, but you don't really get a whole lot of offensive power. And even then, if you do get it popped, you're either at very low health by the time it gets popped, or you're just kind of, I don't know. I feel like, actually, I don't think there's a good item. I don't think Sterix is the one that fixes it, but I don't think it's even going to do that much.
Sterix gets better when armor penetration is better, too, because you'll get more damage based off that base AD than you would without the armor penetration.
Well, sure,
and lethality,
but
since lethality being terrible, Sterix just isn't a good buy.
That would be true for anything that deals with AD.
And Sterix was the go-to item before everybody realized how good armor pen was. Like that Korean Lucian build that was that like turned into the Jhin build, and then just the armor pen out of every bot laner or out of every marksman. And if you couldn't make a successful build without by prioritizing armor pen, then you weren't going to be really that good out of the duo lane. Sterix was the item that people were getting before that build came around.
I guess there's two different problems here. There's the problem where AD carriers complained about just getting blown up. And then there's also a recurring problem, or people are complaining about just not doing enough damage in the mid game. Mm-hmm. Are both of those true? It certainly, like, Ghost Caller brought up some good points that AD carries, the changes that were made for Season 7, they do have they did make some tendencies for AD carries to scale later based on lethality and masteries. So I can see a little bit less damage in the mid game. The getting blown up in team fights, I don't know if that's necessarily accurate. I mean, there's been plenty of times in League of Legends history where assassins have been strong or tanks have been strong, and AD carriers have had a hard time positioning in fights without getting blown up. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that has changed this season.
He corrected by saying it wasn't assassin, or like that it was really just junglers in general, mm-hmm. and he had sort of mistyped by saying assassins.
Yeah, I agree with that, but like, so to bring this back to Sterix, if there is a problem for low mid-game damage, obviously Sterix wouldn't help that.
Yeah, that doesn't help it at all.
It would help, of course, getting dived, but again, I don't know if that's actually a problem or people are just compounding the issue on Reddit of AD carries being bad, and here's the clip of me getting blown up, and that's why AD carries are bad.
I mean, the top pick junglers are Lee Sin, Vi, Hecarim, Shyvana, Kha'Zix, Zac. Name one of those guys that isn't able, or one of those champions that isn't really easily able to just dive straight to the back line.
That hurts. Yeah, I agree.
Those champions have still been around for a long time.
I know, but that's a case of so many of the prominent top laners being tanks. And when the top laners are tanks and not fighters or split pushers or duelists, then you're going to see a lot of divers coming out of the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when any diver gets a Courage of the Colossus shield on him when he goes in. Suddenly that dive is just a little bit more effective every single time. And I think all those champions you named have the ability to get that and probably run it.
Yeah, they
not
could.
Kha'Zix.
I mean, and a lot of them don't necessarily need to, because I looked at a lot of those builds, and most of those champions are still going heavy on damage. They might get 2 tank items, and one of those tank items is Guardian Angel. But otherwise, like, there's a lot of damage that are going into these champions builds, because it's just like, you know what, let's just get to the back line, flatten the AD carry, flatten the support shortly thereafter, tank redemption.
If they are building tanky, it's usually like Dead Man's into Spirit Visage or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
those 2 items.
Yeah, it's always those 2 items. Maybe a Randuin's instead of a Dead Man's every once in a while.
It's not necessary. I mean, itemization helps quite a bit. Itemization obviously is gigantic on every marksman, right? Like, you're trying to get to that 3-item build or whatever it may be, so you can actually do some decent amount of damage or feel like you're doing decent amount of damage without being incredibly far ahead. But the problem I have with delaying any part of your build for any kind of extra stats is just you're banding an issue, like Punch said, you're banding an issue that shouldn't be there. You're banding an issue that you're being caught out of position. Like maybe you should just hang back a little more or whatever it is. We can go in this, we can go in a whole thing. But if you want to really look at like the marksmen that are doing really well right now based on play percentage, Twitch, Caitlyn, and what do we have? Twitch, Caitlyn, Jinx, and Jhin are all doing, and Vayne are all doing fantastic. And those all those champions that are doing well would actually do worse if they supplemented any part of their build with a Sterix gauge or Sterix, whatever just a Sterix, right? Because you are losing so much extra attack. You're losing so much extra attack damage by dumping 2,600 gold into an item that saves you, and you're better off dumping that 2,600 gold into a Guardian Angel at any point in the game.
I would say that, or something that lets you kill the tank faster.
Right.
I'll give you that. Why? I'm wondering why Ezreal's not getting it though.
Because he doesn't need it. Because he's slippery enough. He's so slippery he doesn't need it. Right?
He's one of the safest marksmen in the game. He can get
I agree. He's
and
totally
take
safe.
people that way. That's kind of his out.
Like that was the solution item a year ago.
Yeah, you bring up a good point.
And for some reason, people have completely forgotten about it, even though this was
look at the history.
Exact same problem.
I want to see like if it was a nerf that got people to stop buying it. It probably was.
It was
but looking back, it was health reduced from 500 to 400, which
it was. I think it was more that it no longer stacks with or the passive or the conditional passive no longer stacks with Hex Drinker and Maw. That was part of the change, but then the mage rework hit and I think they touched tank itemization along the way. And when the mage rework hit, suddenly we started seeing more fighters out of top lane and fewer tanks because tanks were going down.
Are you actually losing attack damage if you buy this item? Or am I doing my math?
By combining it, you mean?
Yeah, because Caitlyn has 53 base attack damage. 25% of that is 13. By combining it, you're actually losing 1.75 attack damage, roughly.
It's a level 1, though, right?
That's base attack damage. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but your base attack
base goes
up. I mean, I guess base does go up, so you're not losing it, right? If you bought it at level 1, technically you would.
But it's not a huge increase.
I think
not a gigantic
Misfortune
increase.
loses attack damage.
That might be true.
Is the only
Poor Misfortune. But she's got love tap, so it's okay.
Well, I was just kind of looking it up because you brought that item up and I haven't even thought about it. Did you realize if you Google Caitlyn Jenner pops up as the first thing? Like, I just want Caitlyn League of Legends. You should know that.
That's not too surprising. Caitlyn's a common name. Come on.
Wow.
I mean, if you search for Ziggs,
for you.
What's a base attack damage? 72.8. So 72.8 at level 11, 25% of that is 18 attack damage. You get more attack damage off of BS sword than you do that for 2,900 gold. Like, you're just better off buying. You're better. You just with the amount of attack, you get 40 attack damage with BF sword for less money, right? Like, you're just better off.
I would hope
always
so.
buying it.
No,
I realize
400 health. Like, it would be ridiculous if you got that much more.
I realize that, but if you're only gaining less than 20 attack damage early when you buy the item for 400 health, and I mean, I guess you get health with the lifeline piece of it, and you get an additional. I suppose when it procs, it's fine. Right? You're basing all your stats into a proc.
I had this conversation a year ago where I was not really understanding why everybody was so convinced Sterix was the be-all, end-all item. And you were like, no, it's this reason. You got to get Sterix. You have to get Sterix no matter what. And here we are a year later, and now it's just like, nah.
Always buy Sterix. It doesn't make any sense.
Holy shit! I looked up the gold efficiency on this. Without the without the passive, it's 54% gold efficiency.
Yeah, it's pretty shitty.
That's so bad.
That's what I'm saying. Like, all the money's into the passive.
It's not a good damage item, but it gives you like a little bit and then keeps you alive, which is the problem that AD carries are having right now.
Nah, I mean, shit. The unique Sterix Fury only lasts for 3 seconds. You get one auto attack off at 50% bonus attack damage. Like, you're just
3
better
seconds
off
is gonna
you get
3 seconds is gonna stop Nocturne.
That's not correct. That's not correct.
Oh,
it's
it's
8 seconds of the damage, 3 seconds of shield.
Okay. So you get 3 auto.
Yeah, but if that shield wears off, you're dead, right? I mean, come on. AD carries that stuff right now.
That 3 seconds is going to keep Nocturne or Vi or someone from just flattening you out.
It
lets your support take a reactionary measure. It lets your team do stuff.
Hey, so
Right.
Chira, when we play later and you play Nocturne and you blow up their AD carry, are you going to say, hey, if you bought Sterix, you wouldn't have died there? Just convince all of us
Honestly,
to
I
start
should
buying it?
say that every single time I play Nocturne.
Actually,
Just
like,
buy Sterix, bro.
ganks at level 3, you just say that too.
I should have bought
If
Sterix.
you already had,
to
if you already had Sterix, you would have been fine enemy AD carry.
I wanted to bring up supports. Begrudgingly, I admit that I have no idea what's going on in the bot lane, as I am now on the top lane island forever. But
Forever never.
could AD carries be helped out by a resurgence of Janna, or more supports that are friendly with healing?
So-
Like, what does the support meta look like right now? I have
Okay.
no idea.
So there's what the most successful supports are Janna, Sona, Soraka, Taric, Nami. I mean, you'll
Noticing
see
trend.
they're the Scion one tricks are in there. Blitzcrank is always going to be like a pretty good champion just for what he's doing, but it's not really your Leona's, your Thresh, any like Tahm Kench, Alistar, any of those champions are not doing really well right now because they don't have the heals or shields. The shields and healers are in my mind the best champions. The win rates more or less support that and everything, but the play percentage still has Thresh at number 1, Morgana at number 3, Blitz number 4, Leona number 6, Braum 7, etc. So
Gee.
the successful champions are not necessarily the ones that are being played, and I think that ultimately the support players are not picking up what they need to be doing to make the AD carries more successful.
Support Lulu, bring it back.
I think she's really good right now,
so
and
good.
people are just not playing her.
I think, well, you're also going to see a situation where if Redemption is a must-buy for every single support player,
Which it is.
it's going to benefit, like, it's going to be better on the champions that have heals and shields built into their kit anyways. So on a must-buy item, you're making in more power to certain champs. That's great. That's a really helpful thing, right?
The one caveat we can add to this is that supports have a lot of items they can buy that have shields anyway, so you can still get shields for your AD carry by playing Braum between Face of the Mountain and Locket. And then a Redemption is going to be the additional heal, and Redemption's shield passive is going to be bumping up the strength of the Face of the Mountain and Locket. So it's not as cut and dry, and you can still kind of address team needs through support, but it's easiest just to do it from the get-go with shields or heals in your kit.
You kind of blew my mind when you added this stat into the document earlier, that Mikhail's is only being purchased at a 1.25 percentage rate, and Locket is higher at 8.8%. You know, the item that we all thought would suck when they reworked it?
People don't pay
Locket's
attention
fine.
to
Locket
patch
is
notes.
fine. Locket's really good. The issue is that Aegis is really bad, and that's why I don't like buying it. Because you got to, resistances are nice, I guess, but just generic all-purpose. It sucks buying an item when you're facing you need the shield, even though you're going to have to double down on MR when you're facing a bunch of attack damage from your opponent.
Yeah, I think that if Locket / Aegis either added like health and or cooldown reduction, it would be amazing again. Like it'd be such a much better item to go through. It'd be such a much better thing to go through in terms of the build path. But instead, it's just flat armor and magic resist, and then I guess you can throw a shield on people. It's just like that item has no. It's not sexy. It doesn't do anything but just give weird tank stats after it was the most buy item. And I bet there's still a good percentage of people that are buying it because they're like, oh yeah, Locket's a good support item. I don't play support, so I haven't paid attention to if it changed. So I guess I'll buy that still. Is that a good idea?
So is that the reason it's being purchased more than Mikhail's, or is Mikhail's bad?
Both. No, sorry. Mikhail's I don't think is bad, but people are going to buy that item no matter what if they don't play support and figured, I don't remember how to do this, but I remember this being the classic item and never knew that it changed. But
what's not helping Mikhail's is that people have a misperception of how it works. Everybody remembers it being the big mana regen item, and it hasn't been that for a long time. It's actually a big health regen item. If you get Mikhail's after you have even just Redemption, like you're getting so much health regen going for you that suddenly you can hang in the back and really endure through a lot of fights just by virtue of being where you are to peel for the AD carry, to shield the AD carry, etc. And then you'll take incidental damage and you're going to recover that right back because of the passive on Mikhail's. If you get Ardent Sensor on top of the redemption and everything, like you have so much mana regen, you're never going to run out of resources and you're going to be able to do your job. You are going to die if you get in the middle of a fight, like guaranteed. You are not surviving that if you miss position. But if you hang back like you're supposed to on the champions, like, you know, Janna, Soraka, even Sona, after you use your ult, like just get the fuck out of there.
I mean, you might as well buy it too because it's giving you 20% more healing and shielding.
Yeah,
like you're getting more and more on that. And those add. They're not like, they don't overwrite. Like only get the best one. They add. It's not. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It does change the argument though. Are you better off trying to keep the AD carry alive, or should you just pump your heals and shields into the tank for your team? I think you're putting yourself into a more prone position, but if the tank is going to be the one wrecking the enemy team anyway, I mean, where's the shield better? Is it better on the Lucian that's going to get flattened in 2 seconds, or the Darius who, like, you know, is going to be dealing with 4 different champions but could survive it with your shield anyway?
Well, maybe that's what puts those AD carries back into not being so angry about their role, is if there's people that are supports that are helping them specifically. And
is it the support job?
I agree. It's the support's fault. I agree.
I mean, all right.
About their role selection.
No. It might be that there is. I've run into so many ADC players right now that, and I don't know if this is just something that has been around a long time and this is just sort of normal, but I feel like ADCs have been bitching more about the supports that they've been landing with this season more than any other season I've ever played in. And I don't know if it's just like a new crop of people playing ADC, or if it's just like the current state of where support's at, where people just don't feel like their supports are able to contribute to them being able to do the things that they usually do in lane.
Do you mean stuff that you're reading on Twitter, Reddit, etc., or do you mean like people in games that you've played? Okay,
I mean,
just clarify.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's just
he's
been like a
specifically
lot of
pointing me out with my Janna hate.
No, I'm not doing that, but that is a piece of this, especially after we brought up, I wonder if picking Janna more will fix it. I'm just sitting here knowing that Steam is about to shoot out of your ears.
Hey, if you could play Janna very fucking well, and you could prove me otherwise, do it. But until then, Janna doesn't deserve the win rate she has. But continue.
I've been playing nothing but Janna, Karma, and a little bit of Lulu, and so I'm not running into this issue because they fall into the category of champions we were just describing. So,
what is a requirement to complain a lot when you become an ADC carry main? I've noticed that. I complained a lot more when I was done bot lane.
Well, it's a natural fit for Adam.
Yeah. Well, you can have somebody to blame things on. Or, sorry, exactly. You have somebody you can blame things on, even if it's not founded.
Someone closer to you can blame on. Because I mean, right now I'm just blaming the jungler for everything. But on bot lane, it was a lot easier because the support was right next to me, so I could just push all the blame right to him.
Well, yeah, in top lane, if you die, you can't put the question marks on yourself. You have to put them on, like, if you're in bot, you can put them on whoever.
I've got to come up with some reason for why it was the jungler's fault. It's a lot harder.
Yep.
Right? I can't just say ... and then nobody would know what I mean. Whereas in bot lane, everyone would know I'm complaining about the support because the support is bad. Clearly. In top lane, I'd be like, oh man, jungler never came top, or jungler didn't eat his Wheaties and he bought the right items. I gotta come up with something. It's just too difficult.
I want you to start talking in fighting game terms. Like, oh man, this matchup was 9-1. Doesn't fucking matter. This matchup's 9-1, man. It's always. I mean, I'm gonna 9-1.
Yeah, exactly. The jungler has to gank at least 5 times, otherwise someone's gonna lose this matchup. It's just not even possible to win.
And then we can argue, be like, you can say this matchup's 7-3, but somebody else says it's 5-5, and you guys can argue about it on Reddit for like 30 minutes. It'll be fucking phenomenal. It'll be just like our Kappa all over again.
So is
here's
this
a better question, though.
Your top lane strat, just to talk in terms of fighting game terminology.
Top lane is fighting game now. We have GC now.
You're talking about junglers going top lane. Why are junglers even bother going top lane if 2/3 of the champions getting picked up there are tanks?
Top lane enough.
Why would you go up and try to deal with tanks who are getting all kinds of free resistances from the current tree? Wouldn't you just go bot lane and murder a support or murder an AD carry? Or if all goes well, murder both.
There's certain top laners right now that have just been pushing like crazy, and whenever that's happening, or like it's the same thing when you run into that Nasus player who's picking Nasus and maxing E still because they feel that they get stomped by a Nasus at some point, but they don't realize, oh hey, I'm pushing the lane forever, and I'm Nasus, and I died 3 times, and I'm gonna keep doing it. Yeah, that is why I go top lane. And I'm not saying that I go top lane every game because of those people, but there are games like that where, like, okay, you found the weakest gazelle in the herd of gazelle. Let's fucking eat this thing until we are so fed on it. At least 2 people. I'm trying to feed my pack here, is all I'm trying to say.
That's right.
And
Yeah,
you can't always guarantee
that
that with bot.
I
Jungle
get that it's
speed,
targets of
feedback.
opportunity and everything.
Yeah.
I'm just like, in my mind, it's like, okay, well, they picked Jarvan top lane, who is apparently the second best top laner right now.
He's doing pretty well.
It's like, if you're the jungler, why would you even fucking go up there? He's durable. He's got a shield. He's got the flag drag. He's just going to get himself out of trouble.
Because
if
you
he's
want
not
to
gonna
feed your
attention.
pack, Dom.
Yeah, you got to feed your boy
feed
in top.
pack.
And all right, it might
True
also
bot lane. AD
depend
carries
too
suck right now.
on if you're playing with those individuals. You are really playing into this, Punch. This drives me crazy.
I love it.
I mean,
Because you can
I
just be
don't
like
know.
Sean and be like, "Oh hey, I don't want to take dragons. I want to go into the enemy jungle and play around in there." Or, "Oh hey,
Exactly.
top
that's a
lane
good
is
point.
doing
I-
this," oh hey, I want to pick up Rift Herald because I want this because I'm greedy right now and thinking it'll help the team a
I
lot.
can't believe I didn't think about Dragon. I'm normally all over that one. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, Sean doesn't like dragons. That's why.
I
You're asking the
don't
wrong
know. I
person.
love dragons. I love dragons. I
Yeah,
love
you do.
dragons so much.
You like dragons a lot more when you're playing a solo lane.
Oh yeah. I honestly, it's sad. I pay almost more attention to the map when I'm playing a solo lane.
I
than
know
when I'm
you pay
playing
more
dra-
attention to the map when you're playing a solo lane.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
So
why
I
I don't
get
let
to
Sean
do
play
mine.
Udyr because he just does his thing, and eventually he's like, "Oh hey, I'm bottom lane."
That is not true. You haven't played with me on Udyr in a long time.
That's not
I
true.
love it when he plays Udyr.
Sean, if you
Play
haven't
more Udyr.
noticed, this is between Dark and I. It's been a running gag that you say "oh hey" a lot,
I know. Oh hey.
and so I was trying to make it very obvious for you. For those of
Oh
out
no,
there
I
who
got
wanna-
it. I'm just gonna completely fucking ignore you like I usually do.
Is there a subreddit for explaining memes? Because that's about what we should point people to here. Because why the fuck are you explaining jokes? Come on.
Because I wanted to make sure that Sean got it because I didn't see the like twinkle in his eye when I was doing it. So
He doesn't
No,
think
I-
Sean's very
know-
smart.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know what we're gonna get? We're gonna get an iTunes review that says, "I'm really happy that they explained all their jokes afterwards."
You
And
know,
so,
they
and
might.
so I don't have
It's
to go back
very
and listen
funny
to
when you-
408 more
comedic
episodes.
there could be somebody else that quite enjoys the fact that I explain the jokes, just like people need to be
I didn't
explained.
enjoy that fact because I think that is discriminatory towards me.
Oh,
Well, you're
hey,
painting
that's
all of
too
us.
bad.
Oh goodness.
Well, I don't think we actually really ever covered why Marksman are bad. It kind of turned into, here's Marksman, now here's top lane, now here's supports, and
Well,
oh,
how
hey,
about-
we're talking
how about-
this.
I think that we touched on it, and the fact that it's such a knee-jerk thing that's happening right now on Reddit that it's like been 2 weeks of people complaining about it. That's not really enough time to really understand exactly what's wrong or what needs to be fixed there. I'm fine with having a small toe dip into
I mean,
into that water.
It's this knee-jerk shit that always happens where people overplay some issue that they just perceive to be wrong, and it ends up being like they ramp it up to an 8, 9, or 10 when realistically it's a 4 or 5. But like the Reddit circle jerk begins, and it begins very, very hard until everybody has convinced themselves that there is this problem here that really isn't nearly as bad as it might be. Like I'd bitch about I still want to bitch about diving junglers more than I want to bitch about AD carries because I see them every freaking game, and I don't know. I just
Well, a different
it drives
topic
me
here.
crazy when people cry for like nothing.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that a lot. That's why I see that kind of shit. I'm just like, well, here goes Reddit again.
Well,
They're
that's the thing. Like,
doing it.
I'm welcome to for people to disagree with that, and I can understand if like there are AD carry players that just aren't having fun this season, because I know some people that aren't having that much fun on ADC, and I feel bad for those individuals. But then it always comes down to there's other stuff that you can play too, and you don't have to play that position if you don't want to. Especially now with the way the queues work, it's easier than ever to just be like, hey, I'm going to try out this new role. And I'm not saying like, oh, hey, that's a fix. There you go. Oh, hey, that's a fix to this situation. Let's just play a whole damn different role and go for it. But like, I don't think
go play
ADC's
something
that
else.
bad. I don't think ADC's that bad. If you
I
don't
don't
like
think it's as
it might be the time.
complicated as Reddit makes it out to be.
No, it's not.
I think lethality is bad.
Yeah, I do
Sure.
too.
Yeah, that
I mean,
contributes to it.
It sort of feels like they were trying to address two problems by changing the stat the way they did. But if you thought that armor pen was too strong, didn't it almost make more sense to just reduce the amount of armor pen that was coming from these items? And if it felt too low, then bump it up a little bit. There's no reason armor pen needs to be these nice flat numbers. An item could have 7 armor pen, and that's still going to be like, calculate the same way as far as ignoring resistances go or reducing resistances goes.
You know what I think might be more the case with the Reddit side of things? Maybe a lot of people are subscribed to certain YouTube channels, and I'm not actually picking out one because I don't know who's like covered these, but maybe everyone saw like a video and said, holy shit, that one champ just wrecked them. And then they saw a post on Reddit that said, hey, this champion is ruining the game in bot lane. And you're like, I saw that. I'll upvote that. And that's one game that happened. And that's probably, and maybe that's like 3 or 4 games total that have been clipped because they're fun to watch. Like maybe that's why it's getting pushed more than people. I wonder how many of those people who upvoted have actually seen it. And I bet it's a very, very small percentage.
I mean, you're still seeing. I feel. I don't know. I still see all these ADCs that are clearly doing pretty well, and I've been in games on the receiving end. And again, we're going back to some anecdotal experience here, but fuck it. I've played a lot of League in the past couple of weeks, so that's what's going to happen because I've played in the current state of the game. And I have been crushed by ADCs that have just done slightly better in lane than our ADC, and they get a huge snowball advantage just off some little bit and then rolling it into team fights and killing people left and right.
That was last season.
Well, it's just part of that class, I guess, of champion. I don't know. I don't think it's nearly as bad as people are playing it out to be. Stop crying.
I don't think anyone here is saying that it's a real problem. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah, it isn't.
You know what is a problem?
It's not a huge problem.
That I'm going to switch our gears. Is I was reading Riot Fearless is kind of doing an AMA on Twitter right now, or was doing it earlier this afternoon, and one of his tweets was talking about Rift Herald, and his reply was that they believe that it needs to serve a different purpose or needs to be deleted off of the Summoner's Rift.
Okay.
Which I thought was an interesting reply, that they may remove Rift Herald altogether.
I don't completely disagree with that either, because there are games where you're better off just taking a turret than even messing with Rift Herald.
Think about its original purpose, right? It was supposed to be an alternative to Dragon, at least early. And it's not really serving that. It's not. So if they want to change the purpose, to me that sounds like we want to make it a different reason to take Rift Herald as opposed to just another option to a tower or dragon. I'm not sure what that means, though. Like, do you just give it an entirely different set of buffs? And
yeah, I have no idea. Yeah, I don't want this to turn into something like we did last week with the mist and all that, talking about the different things. I just thought it was an interesting, piece of information that Riot may be considering removing into the future.
I've definitely had games where I forgot Rift Herald was even around and a thing that people could take. And so then you hear the noise like, oh shit, that's still in the game?
To put it in perspective, I have wanted to take Rift Herald in many situations that it was a no-lose situation to take Rift Herald. And people are just like, yeah, I'd rather just not waste my time.
It's because you have to invest a bunch of people into getting it, but only one person reaps the reward. Mm-hmm. That's ultimately what the issue is. It takes at least 2 people to.
And it's not easy to take.
To get it.
You have to have multiple people.
But only one person benefits.
It's like the level 60 Warlock quest in WoW for the mount. No one got anything, but the person got the mount, and you spent hours and hours in helping the person grind.
Please help me.
You used to have to pay.
The Hunter quest.
Please run Stratholme.
Yeah, can we run Stratholme? I need this item drop, please. You can go there and get your shoulders, but we're already ran Molten Core, but I want my shoulder. I want my mount.
Hug it. Scrub.
I can't do that. I'm dying. Sorry.
You don't. Oh,
I tried to do
stick people.
tried to do the crying and it hurt my throat.
Wah.
Wah. Oh hey.
I'm happy I didn't get sick this year.
Yeah. Why don't we answer some listener questions? We've had some sit like forever in here.
Please.
Please, as in
Are we finally going to
segues
ask
nicely.
unnamed listener, or is it too late for that?
which listener? Unnamed listener?
Unnamed listener.
Yeah, sure. Unnamed listener that wrote in like 3 months ago and we never got to your question because we just didn't. I apologize. What do you think about support items being bought on jungle tanks or top tanks, as they are so efficient? For example, I can see someone go for a build with Titanic Hydra, CDR boots, Cinder Hulk, Locket, or Banner and Face of the Mountain. This build would give very strong options to shield everyone, and those shields would make him super tanky as well. Also, the build costs nearly nothing to complete, so it gives you everything that you need.
Well, as we discussed earlier, tank items are already cheap. So why not just get something that's going to like guarantee that you stay alive the entire time, as opposed to something that might keep other people alive?
Right, you're taking the majority of the damage, or you should be. I mean, if we're talking about divers here,
Yeah,
jumpers,
I mean, you're going to be taking all the front-loaded damage, which
yeah.
I mean,
Who cares
you're gonna
about
hit
shooting
the-
other people?
Yeah, you're going to get
Well,
the most burst on yourself in the
You
front.
almost can't care about shielding other people.
Right.
Like
Doesn't die.
shield other people by pulling the damage threats off of the other people is really the easy way to think about it. The other thing is that like those items are efficient, but that doesn't mean they're the maximum gold value that you. They're not necessarily the most slot efficient thing that you can get. If
Yeah,
that makes
like efficiency is a weird word to use there because the efficiency of something like the Face of the Mountain build items, a lot of it comes from getting gold and sharing it. Like you're completely removing that entire aspect of Face of the Mountain to get, I guess, a shield and some CDR and health. Like you could do that with something better.
Like,
Okay.
I mean, I get the idea of wanting every piece of gold that you invest into an item to count for as much or more than that single piece of gold, but that doesn't mean it is the best use of that gold. You still want to maximize, like you only have 6 inventory slots, and you need to maximize what you're able to do with those inventory slots. And so
Yeah.
gold efficiency isn't necessarily slot efficiency.
Plus, there are plenty of times where if you do get a rolling lead on somebody, fuck the tank items, go get some damage and snowball that lead some more too.
Right. When you're ahead, get more ahead, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I mean, it's the difference of, oh hey, God, I'm gonna fucking do this over and over again tonight because you brought it up and I can't think of anything else. So go fuck yourself. No,
You can start with that. You can start with go fuck yourself.
Yeah, you'd be
and
like,
make your point.
Oh, hey, go fuck
and buy some
yourself.
damage. No, I mean it's the difference between if you can get 2 or 3 kills early, why would you roll right into a Cinder Hulk when you can buy a Trinity Force and just go and crush anyone that runs into you 1v1?
Yeah. I don't see any point in going for these. Like I understand if you're going to be full tank and you need to. I understand Locket a little bit, but again, this is a very old question. Probably back when Locket was built on 1 to 2 people
Locket
per
was
team.
better.
So
this was
is
before preseason, so
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Ted's question because we talked about Rift Hail tonight.
Ted.
So Baron is the next one. Ted writes in, after Baron, everyone seems to recall. Is there ever a time to travel to the side lanes to empower a large minion wave there?
I kind of feel like you have to think about the context of when Baron is being done. You know, if it's one of those situations where you more or less just wiped the enemy team, and then you took Baron and everything, they've probably respawned. So trying to go and push means they actually have a little bit of a gold advantage on you, or in theory they have a little bit of a gold advantage, assuming it was
They might have picked up
not
a
just
small
not a
advantage.
lopsided fight. If you're sneaking Baron, they know where you are and they know you're not at full health at the very least. So again, you don't have the opportunity to just go recklessly into a side lane. But if you are like, if there was a fight in your base or something, or if you're basically running straight from base to Baron and then taking it because they all respawned, or they're all respawning at that point in time, like then you absolutely want to just shift straight to the side lane. Because you don't I mean, your team doesn't have gold to spend. Is part of what it comes down to.
It's also if you pick up 3 or 4 kills and it's 45 minutes into the game and the respawn timers are way longer than they'd be otherwise, yes, you have
Take
a little
advantage
bit
of
of
that.
yeah,
Sure.
you have the wiggle room to go and push that advantage. But if
It's
you're
a
taking
31 minute.
yeah, exactly. If you're taking a 29-minute Baron where the respawn times are still 30, 40 seconds, whatever they are, in the time it takes you to run to that lane, you have maybe an 8-second window between when you're sitting there at half health and they respawn that they can just come and clean up. And if you lose your Baron for that, then what was that advantage fought for in the first place? So like that's the later the game goes, the less, I guess, important it necessarily becomes to just immediately back. But it also depends on how strong the enemy champions are. If there's one person that happens to be really, really strong and they can go and clean up 3 people that are sitting at a third health apiece or half health apiece, like, yeah, go back so that you don't waste that precious objective that you've worked to obtain.
It is highly situational, but I think the rule of thumb that we have going here is that if you've got money to spend or you're low health, you should go back to base. If 4 of your teammates are going back to base, you probably want to go back to base with them. You're better off everyone buying, getting full power, and then pushing together, as opposed to you going off on your own with the potential to get picked off before the rest of your team is ready to push another lane, because then you just lost your Baron buff and your split push advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it can be really valuable to take your Baron and everything and go clean up one of the side lanes so that it starts pushing in your favor, and then you can go and do another or push down another lane somewhere else on the map.
Yeah, you're also like, so my thought of if you were to take Baron and go like say, all right, we got to go 5 people to this lane right now. The only time that you're really getting maximum efficiency out of your Baron is if there's a wave there and you use all 3.5 minutes of it. The amount of time it takes you to go back is halved. You get a 50% bonus movement speed when you get back. Plus, you've just got a bunch of gold, and that movement speed's also power adds on to Home Guard. So you rush out of that base. You've spent way less time than normal anyways to get back. Like you have tons of gold to spend. And if you don't fight with that advantage, you're not wasting very much time to go back. And so I almost always say, unless there's something that's very easy to get, like for some awful reason there's top outer turrets left, and I don't know how you're doing that and getting Baron in the same game, like, then sure, why not just walk on up? You can crush that pretty quick. But like there's why not use the most amount of time at max power instead of using like a less power immediately, unless there's something just obvious that you can take.
I mean, if you want to fight and everybody recalled because you were too low to go take Baron, but then your whole team rushes straight to Baron, then you should absolutely be going to one of the side lanes or even straight down mid. Like that, then you need to push because there's no reason for your team to go back. Like they're all going to be respawning. You have all the bonus stats and regen from Baron, so just go and do the job you're supposed to with the advantage you have. But if you're not healthy enough to do that,
I think
worth noting that regen's not part of that anymore.
oh, it's not.
Baron doesn't have
bad.
regen. So yeah, that's also another part. If you like, I mean, obviously, if you're very low after taking Baron, you should probably recall because you get your health back real quick. But yeah, you don't have. It's just AD and AP now. Oh, it's a long time ago, man. That's been gone for a while.
It might just be I always have
it's when they switch to buffing.
I don't even notice.
I believe it's when they switched to buffing minions with the Baron buff is when they took away the regen portion.
My bad.
That's all right. I still think of it from time to time.
Like, fondly.
I miss it fondly.
Yep.
Yeah, I think everybody pretty much covered every piece of it. The primary pieces I wanted to just point on was that sometimes it's okay to let the waves, like if the enemy wave is crashing into your waves and headed toward the base and you back, that's okay because you get your healthier Baron empowered minions to come back with you. So you can push the wave down faster. And so that's, like if the enemy waves are pushing you have to take Baron, that's totally fine. You don't have to keep yours pushing, because if you keep yours pushing, you might not have a wave that you're able to build up. Does that make sense?
Your wave could die off before you get there to reinforce it.
Right.
Yeah. And you get all this move speed with them too. Like get those minions moving real fast.
Yeah.
If you're moving them from base, I mean.
The only time that I would say, like for the most part, I think most people, the problem they have when people go back is that they don't go back right away. Like a lot of times in lower elo, people won't go back the moment
They'll
they
sit
take
around
Baron.
and they'll try and skirmish.
Yeah, they'll skirmish. They'll try to take Scuttle Crab for some reason. Like Scuttle Crab is always things people take right after they take Baron or something, right? Like why the fuck you take a Scuttle Crab? Stop.
Kill the crab.
I've seen people take Baron then try and like go rip Raptors or
Yeah, that's what I'm
Wolves or
saying, like
something. Yeah,
Crab is
Hey guys,
That's
we
not
just
worth
got
that.
1,500 gold. Let's get that 75 from Scuttle before we go
yeah.
back.
Let's not back.
Let's secure that.
Crab's delicious.
Unless you know
Crab
you
is
need that
delicious.
gold for your next tier item, just go right back, right? Like the thing has always been, don't stop for Raptors or don't stop for this, right? But like the only time I say is maybe you made it to Baron late, or maybe you didn't hardly take any damage. You know what? Speaking of Baron, I'm just gonna skip my point. My point was if you haven't taken much damage, it's okay to kind of go push a side lane or maybe walk toward the bottom where your guys, get ready to set up somewhere. Just don't go die. But no, my whole point is like if you're taking Baron, another like soapbox PSA here is don't stand behind Baron because you take more damage if you stand behind Baron and try.
Oh
to
my
take
god.
People don't know that. For
They
what
don't. No, nobody knows that.
No, don't stand behind Baron. He shits on you.
Yeah, even if you're super tanky, he shits on you. Those spines hurt.
The
only time
only reason there is to stand behind Baron is because you are trying to body block a hook or
I was gonna say
a skill shot or something.
Last time we played with you guys, I was playing Poppy, and I was using W to try to stop Zach from coming in, and that was the last time I've ever been behind Baron. But Zach still made it over the wall before he got blocked by W, so it didn't even matter. So I'm like, well, that sucked. But then he died, and we got Baron, so it was good.
Great end of the story. That's
We won.
I'm always happy when
that's
we
like-
end on something great.
That's like when it's like 8:30 and the kid isn't asleep and she asks for a bedtime story. So I go in there and be like, "Well, the princess went to the market and she met her prince and it's been a great day. Everyone loved everybody and the happy ever after. Good night."
All right, good night. Go to sleep.
So, I think that's I think we've pretty much covered all of the
Do you
major
want to get
topics.
do you want to get these tank runes just real quick?
Yeah,
'Cause it
sure.
was
Hit it.
actually-
Arnie's question.
Yeah, hit it.
Yeah, it's real easy. It says Arn writes, "You talked about runes recently. Which mark should I choose on tank supports like Alistar, Nautilus, and Leona?" And the answer is armor, and that is it. The only person that this is different on is maybe Thresh, and 80 marks on him help for Relic Shield procs and for early damage. That is about it. But that's it. There's nothing else to take.
You're
That's
welcome,
it.
Arn.
That's it. That's everything. That's it. That's done. Just take armor. Lots of armor. Put armor on everything.
What about AP, guys?
No.
No?
Put it on
okay.
Blitzcrank, so your passive hits harder.
Yeah,
AP
Blitzcrank is
Reds? Jesus.
Yeah, why not?
Cool.
Magic Pen Reds.
I mean,
And Pen Reds.
Jesus.
All right. I think that
we-
pretty much sums it up for tonight.
I'm gonna miss you guys on Monday.
we
I'm
answered
gone
everything.
Monday.
We will we will be back in action on Monday with 2 episodes next week, hopefully.
Except for Mitch.
Except for Mitch.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to talk to you, Mitch.
Punch will be on too.
I'm gonna be in Tampa.
I'll
I'm gonna
be
be
there.
at that game.
That's sweet.
Yeah, I'm going to the
I
game.
wish I knew what you were talking about, because I erased all memory of whatever happened.
no one remembers what happened in the Fiesta Bowl.
You know how
what
depressed
the
I
what?
was watching that happen, and I'm very thankful that you haven't rubbed that in my face more than you have, because I was just sitting the whole time like, I don't even know I'm gonna show up next week with Mitch being super fucking excited.
God.
I don't want to have anything to do with this.
Don't worry, I'm not that much of an asshole. Punch in my conversation on Twitter was like 2 words long.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that.
he said he's
That's good.
retiring. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't remember that.
he blocked me.
I also don't know what we're talking about. Fiesta what?
What? All right, guys.
We talking about
A lot of
Tostitos?
Tostitos.
How
A lot of
drunk were
Tostitos
you?
happened.
That's episode number 409 of the Trinity Force podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast and the network and all the good stuff. I hope you guys enjoy the content we bring you in 2017, because we're going to try to push harder, better, faster, stronger for more of
see what you did there.
everything. Thank you.
Is that a new sign off?
No, I
Harder,
was just
better,
trying to
stronger,
I was just trying to figure out a way
2017.
to get this shit show of a car rammed into the wall as fast as I possibly can, and by quoting bad songs, we can
It's over! How about that?
boom. That's it. See ya.
First episode of the new year, really bringing it to y'all. Let's do it, boys.
Guys, we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
See ya.